Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. I'm Jeff Sharon along with Eric Lopez. And Eric, I am on location, baby.
That's right. You're in Clearwater where there's a lot of water right now.
Well, yeah. Well, actually, the rain here was not as bad as I think they were predicting. It got pretty bad when, up by you guys. It really wasn't that bad over here, although they changed the schedule around because it was going to be heavy. We were expecting it to be heavy like all day, and it just wasn't. But I'm here at the American Athletic Conference Baseball Championships where I'm doing some play-by-play for the American Digital Network. I had a wild baseball game today between Cincinnati and Memphis, 15-14 in 10 innings. Memphis winning in walk-off fashion. I'll talk about UCF losing their first game in the tournament. They will play tomorrow, Thursday, May 25th, in the early game, 11 a.m. in the losers bracket because they lost their first game to East Carolina. So we'll chat about that in the game coming up. We got some basketball news. Tacko Fall's coming back. We'll talk about that. And we've also got an interview today with Bryce Wallor, the head coach of UCF men's golf, as they get ready for the NCAAs coming up later this week. So quick reminders, of course, you can follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com. Make sure you sign up for email alerts there for all of our latest content on the site. You can follow us on Facebook at Black and Gold Banneret as well. And you can follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. I'm at Jeff_Sharon, and Eric is at Eric Lopez Elo. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and tune in. All right, Lopez, let's dive in. I'm here in Clearwater, where UCF, first of all, the schedule, because of the rain that was happening today, they had played 4 games on Tuesday. Normally they only played 2. They played 4, and UCF was the only one of the top 4 seeds to actually go down. They lost 12-3 to East Carolina. And in a game where things just kind of got out of hand. But this is what I was telling everybody was that, listen, would you be all that surprised about East Carolina? Is UCF right now 38 and 19? They come off the victory over USF that won them a share of the conference regular season tournament, and then they lose 14-3 against East Carolina. Now they play Tulane in their second game. Remember, it's double elimination on this in this tournament until they get to the last two finalists. Trent Thompson retired the first 7 and then gave up 4 runs in the third, and ECU just kind of never looked back from there. Charlie Juergen hit a home run for ECU. Ryland Thomas had an RBI single in this ball game, but it really just didn't matter. UCF got thrashed around. What in the world happened in this game to UCF?
Well, I think it was, look, you're going to have a bit of a letdown. You won a championship against your rival on Saturday. Now you got a quick turnaround coming back Tuesday.
Yeah.
East Carolina, Cliff Godwin actually shook up his rotation. He didn't throw his best arms in this final regular season weekend because he knows the only chance East Carolina has of making the NCAA tournament is to win the conference tournament. So he saved his best arm for this game, whereas UCF, obviously, Coach Lovelady going with a typical midweek starter, which I agree with. You can't afford, because some people are wondering, why didn't Robbie Howe start? And the answer is very simple. The reason he didn't start is because you want to keep him on schedule and have him ready later in the week in the tournament, but more importantly, have them ready for next week for the NCAA tournament. You're not going to pitch Robbie Howe short rest and throw off your whole entire rotation. So East Carolina had a lot more to play for, to be honest. And, that's, in college baseball, that's kind of one of the things that could happen. Add to the fact that East Carolina was a talented team that had a lot of things go against them before the year, during the season, I should say, but still has a very talented team. And, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I wouldn't freak out. I mean, I've seen people panicky about it. Your colleague, Jeff Brightwell, even said before the tournament that there is not East Carolina might be the most dangerous 8 seed in the history of not only the American Conference tournament, but maybe in a lot of these tournaments, if you think about it. So not to be alarmed. I think this day off, because UCF was supposed to play Wednesday against Tulane, I think will help them refocus, and I expect a much better effort coming against Tulane.
Yeah, I'm with you. Down here in Clearwater, I thought that the day off basically that UCF got today was much needed. It really was a blessing in disguise. They were scheduled to play at noon. The Cincinnati-Memphis game went long. It was almost 4 hours long. They started the game at 9 a.m. And got the game in just before the showers rolled in. And it really is a blessing in disguise, I think, for Greg Lovelady's guys to sort of refocus. UCF is playing Tulane in the loser side of the bracket. One more loss and the Knights are out of the tournament. They took 2 out of 3 against Tulane in the regular season, where the bats just went wild in that series. The winner of the game will face the loser of USF and East Carolina in that semifinal round. Remember, it's double elimination, of course. So I think this actually worked out for UCF. I'm not all that worried. I think the other thing too that Greg Lovelady may have in the back of his mind is, UCF winning the regular season, a share of the regular season championship, they're going to get into the field of 64 more likely. I know that I've, expressed my trepidation at that.
Yeah, you're the only one in America.
Right. Well, it's, because, that's just how I feel about that. I get scared about the committee, but, they expect to get in. And, whereas East Carolina the other day, I mean, they got to win the whole tournament in order to try and get in. And I think that East Carolina thinks they can win the whole tournament. That's the thing.
Yes.
And we've seen this before, but yeah, I'm not overly worried. I think this day off is going to do the Knights some good. Rest up a little bit. You got the game coming on Thursday, and then you can play. I think Friday is the day that you would play next. So I have to double check the schedule on the American, but again, these games are going to be all these midweek games are going to be on the American digital network, and Jeff Brightwell and Garrett Wilverd will have the call for UCF and Tulane at 11 a.m. on Thursday. So early start, but it should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. What's kind of give us an idea? You're there. You've been there now a couple days. What's kind of the environment like? What's it like for those that have never been to the conference tournament? I haven't been there yet. I might try to slip out there over the weekend, depending on how the schedule works out. But kind of, what's been the chatter? What's been the kind of the environment like?
Well, it's been fun so far. The biggest concerns have been the weather, of course, which it looks like we're going to, get out, relatively unscathed, from what we were thinking. And a credit to the conference for what they did early in the week, moving 2 games that were originally scheduled to be today, Wednesday, moving them to Tuesday, and moving 2 games. Well, initially moving 2 games were supposed to be on Thursday to Wednesday, or 1 game rather to Wednesday, and they actually played it perfectly considering the problems with the weather that they were expecting. They were expecting it to be quite severe, actually. Excuse me, but. So far it's worked out. They only had 2 games scheduled at 3 and 7 on Thursday, and it turned out that they had the open slot at 11 a.m. so that if UCF and Tulane could not get their game in today, they would just move it to the regular spot on Thursday. So it'll be 3 games on Thursday, and then the winner of Game 6 plays Friday at 3 p.m. So UCF and Tulane is game number 6. All right, and then so that'll be, and then you get to semifinal Saturday, which we're basically going to play everything off until we have 2 teams that haven't been beaten twice, and then they will face each other in the championship game noon on ESPN News on Sunday.
Certainly, UCF's got its work cut out coming from the losers bracket, but the good news is if they can get to the weekend, you still got Robbie Howell, you still got Williams, you got Sheridan, so they've got a lot of arms still to go. And with that bullpen, if they can be good, the key is you got to get quality innings, and they didn't get that against East Carolina. So it's going to be fascinating. I've watched a good majority of the tournament, Jeff. Houston had to come from behind to beat Memphis. I know you followed that one very closely.
Yep.
Connecticut beat Cincinnati. USF Tulane was a very good game, won by USF. But Tulane, you showed that they could hit with power. And the thing I've noticed, and you mentioned it on your broadcast with the Cincinnati-Memphis game, so far the wind's been blowing out.
Yeah, the wind has certainly been blowing out in this tournament. We saw that there were 10 home runs on the first day. We had a 29-run game with 32 hits on Wednesday. Now that this front's blown through, the weather's supposed to be nice, but it's probably not going to be as windy as it was leading up to this. So for UCF to actually, will they have the opportunity to put the ball in the air? I mean, we were seeing pop flies get blown all over the place earlier today. So so there's a potential for some offense. I don't know how it's going to work out now though with the conditions, but we're just going to have to wait and see. You'll have to see those games. The game against Tulane on the American Digital Network again, 11 a.m. On Thursday, and then it's just wait and see time to see what happens with UCF in the NCAA tournament. The RPI certainly looks good enough, at least at this point. And you'll hopefully, but I'd like to see UCF go a little bit deeper in this tournament, and I would love to see them win the tournament. Obviously, I mean, there's no question about that.
Sure,
but I'm starting to believe. As I've been here, I'm not thinking that it's the end of the world if they don't. I'm slowly but surely coming around to that.
Yeah, because again, you can't mess up your rotation at the expense of next week. I mean, as important as this next weekend is very important, and so you want to keep everything on schedule. A couple of things from the conference that's come out since you've been there. I mean, first of all, you had a weird game. You mentioned the Memphis-Cincinnati game with the wildness of that game, but the thing was bizarre is the Cincinnati coach resigned after the first loss. I mean, has there been any chatter about that in town? Like how bizarre that is?
What's even more bizarre is the fact that he didn't even make the trip, and they announced his resignation following the first game.
Oh.
Now, the interim coach, Ted Tom, took over, and what a game for him to take over. 15-14 is the highest scoring game in American Athletic Conference baseball tournament history. A couple things go their way, and Cincinnati is moving on. They haven't won a tournament game since 2008, since they were back in the Big East days, but. It's just there have been some kind of weird things going on in this tournament with all the home runs, and they had the Cincinnati thing, and it's been a wild week so far, and I expect it to only get wilder as time moves through. So again, worth catching for UCF here in Clearwater to see what happens in this upcoming game with Tulane. So make sure you check out the American Digital Network tomorrow. That's Thursday at 11 a.m. And follow American_BSB on Twitter, and go to theamerican.org and look at Championship Central for baseball for all the latest action here in Clearwater. All right, let's switch some gears over to basketball real quick. Well, what we expected kind of sort of to happen happened. It was officially announced today as Tacko Fall is coming back. He officially announced that he is withdrawing his name from consideration in the NBA draft. Got out of there just before the deadline. Kind of drew it out a little bit. But Tacko's coming back. I think it's a smart decision, and I imagine you do too.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm surprised they kind of waited till the last day, but whatever, doesn't matter in the long run. He's back. I think that's a smart move. I really question whether he would even get drafted if he was in this draft. This is a very strong draft in the NBA this year. I think there's questions about his athletic ability, his footwork. There's still stuff he's got to work on. So he's got to prove some things, and I think that's the message he got. And I think he'll be ready to go. And it's huge for UCF now, because now you can officially move on and move forward to the upcoming season for UCF. Jeff, you and I were there, about a week or two ago, a week ago, actually, where Coach Dawkins spoke on the Charge On Tour and talked about how excited he is about the 6 new guys they're going to be playing that had to sit for various reasons, transferring and so forth. And yes, you do lose Matt Williams, but there's going to be a lot of high expectations for this upcoming season. I think Rob Dowster, who covers college basketball for NBC Sports, is predicting the UCF will be an NCAA tournament team next year. Jeff Goodman from ESPN tweeted about the fact that a lot of coaches reaching out to him about how big that is for UCF that Tacko's back. So this is a big deal. It's a big deal because now I get the sense here, Jeff, that UCF is going to be a team that people are going to be talking about with a lot of high expectations going into this season in a league that's got a lot of buzz going all of a sudden, with Wichita State making it will be in the league as probably the favorite. You still have the Cincinnatis and the SMUs, and then you also have a news that came out this week where the American Conference Championship for basketball, the tournament semifinal and the championship game, will now be on CBS for the 2018 tournament on Saturday and Sunday, leading up to the selection show in a game in the tournament that will be held at the Amway Center in Orlando. So this is just humongous news for UCF in a season that is going to be probably the most anticipated and highly expected, maybe with the highest expectations that the program has ever experienced.
Yeah, and that's actually that was one of the next things I was going to touch upon was the Amway Center hosting the tournament coming up, and that's going to be on CBS. I was interested with Tacko Fall, the 5 franchises that worked him out. Did you see that list?
Well, it was Lakers, Magic. I didn't see the rest.
Lakers, Celtics, Magic, Utah Jazz, and Houston Rockets. Now, Orlando, of course, I understand. Utah had a pretty good year this year. Houston, I was surprised at because Tacko Fall doesn't seem to. I don't think he quite falls in with what Mike D'Antoni, Mike D'Antoni's not in Houston, or rather he is in Houston. I was surprised that they even kind of considered Tacko at that point because of the Rockets' playing style. But the Celtics and the Lakers, those 2 teams are drafting at the top of the draft, and they may have been considering Tacko early, and in their case it would be very early, second round. So that's encouraging, but I do think Tacko did make the correct decision in deciding to come back. And he's getting, he got quite a bit of scouting advice, I'm sure, from the folks who evaluated him with those franchises on the things he has to work on. He's going to work on those things over the summer, and then we'll see what happens from there. One other basketball note I wanted to pass along, or 2 more I wanted to pass along, rather. Matt Williams, speaking of guys who worked out with the Orlando Magic, that's what Matt Williams did. Came in, got some work in with the Magic. He had a quote on UCFKnights.com. It said, I'm trying to take everything in and learn as much as I can from this process. I'm taking a serious approach to all the workouts and making sure that when I'm working out, I leave everything out on the court. Real quick, what do you think are the chances of Matt Williams latching on with an NBA team, be it, as a reserve or maybe, getting signed and latching on in the D League?
Well, I think a lot will depend on how he does in workouts, how he does in summer league. He's probably going to be playing somewhere in a summer league basketball, and I think if he could show them that he could shoot, he might get a look. He'll get a look. If you could shoot, you'll get a look.
Yep.
And he could do that, and it's just about finding the right fit and the right team and the right circumstances. And, even if he latches on in the D League to start the year, doesn't mean, that he can't get up to the NBA. I mean, Yogi Ferrell, for example, who was a 4-year starter point guard at Indiana, was in the D League. He didn't get drafted, but he got to the D League, and the Mavericks called him up because they had a bunch of injuries, and now he's like their starting point guard. So you just never know. That's my point. So I think for Matt, it's just about putting his name out there, showing teams what he could do, and, show and perform very well, whether it be in combines, which is already taking place, or if he doesn't get drafted, he goes in the summer league. Even if he does get drafted in the second round, he's still got to prove himself in the summer league and so forth. And hopefully latch on with a team, usually a team that can, is looking for shooting. That's where you want to target if you're Matt Williams.
And one other note from the alumni department, Dwight McCombs, former UCF Knight center, has won a professional championship. He's a center on CDE Talca of the National Basketball League of Chile, Chile's Liga Nacional. This year, McCombs led the Liga Nacional with 1.3 block shots a game. He was second with 12.8 rebounds a game. He averaged almost 21 points a game. So dominating performance for Dwight McCombs down in Chile, and he's got a championship ring. So wanted to pass along congrats to Dwight. And also, you look at some of the other UCF basketball alumni who've made some pretty good professional careers for themselves overseas. I don't think that ever gets enough credit. We saw Roberto Morantine, who played when we were at school, Eric. He actually just announced his retirement from playing over in Spain. He played. He had a good dozen-year career out in over in Spain. His home country is Spain. He's from Valladolid, and a number of other players who were had extended careers overseas. So congrats to Dwight, and that's a credit to UCF's program as well. I don't think that everyone always talks about the NBA, right? But there's a lot of pro ball players out there who make their sport their career in other countries, and are making a living and spreading the word about UCF elsewhere. And I think that's that has tremendous value for UCF as a program, and that's something that I think is going to be important moving forward as UCF does try to increase the talent level basketball wise. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's always alternatives to pursuing your goals, and I don't think there's any question about that. All across the world, the NBA basketball is a global game, so you don't just have to play in the United States. You can play across the world if that's what you choose to, and a lot of UCF players have chosen to do that. I believe Keith Clatton has done that.
Yeah.
There's others, as you mentioned. So
Jermaine Taylor played overseas and is now in the D League.
That's the thing. You have opportunities. It's just as if you're willing to do it. Those opportunities will be there.
Yeah, so congrats to Dwight, and congrats to all the other UCF alum overseas making a name for themselves with the black and gold overseas. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got an interview I conducted earlier this week with Bryce Wallor, our head men's golf coach at UCF, talking about the Knights' upcoming NCAA tournament appearance. Lots to talk about with Coach Wallor as his team gets ready. They won the regional, and so now they're moving forward into the NCAA field and a chance to play for a national championship. So stick around. We'll have more on that, and we'll also have some other news as well from around the UCF sports world, including a look at tennis in the NCAAs as well. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Back after this.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.
And welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Look us up on Facebook. Hit us up on Twitter at UCF_Banneret and at blackandgoldbanneret.com. Jeff, Sharon, Eric Lopez with you. Let's talk about some men's golf, Eric Lopez. The UCF Knights are, the men's golf team is heading to Chicago, actually Sugar Grove, Illinois, for the NCAA championships. They won the Murfreesboro Regional outright. And they are now heading up there. It's the 26th, or the first day of the tournament. It's the 26th, which is this coming Friday. And I was fortunate enough, and many thanks to Andy Seeley for helping me out with this. Bryce Wallor, the UCF head men's golf coach, took some time for me and called in. So here's and to talk about the NCAA tournament coming up, and he had some pretty interesting things to say about what the setting is like for UCF heading up there. It's their first NCAA regional title since 2009, second in program history, and so this is a big moment for UCF golf as they head up to Illinois for the NCAA. So here is our interview with UCF head men's golf coach Bryce Wallor. And here we are with UCF head men's golf coach Bryce Wallor. Coach, congratulations on making the NCAA championships, and on that region, you get to hang that regional banner. It must feel pretty good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. This has been a lot of hard work on behalf of our program. We've been to this championship a few times as a team, but this has been a rewarding year. Had a couple of special wins going into regionals, and then to kind of pull one off late right there at the end was really fantastic.
Tell us about that last day, because I was reading your quote from the recap story where you said, a couple holes to go, it looked like we had a pretty good cushion, and it was pretty neat to stand on the 18th hole. We've seen drama sort of at the end with the women's team, but with you guys with the regional, the way you guys played, it just seemed like you were like, wow, this is really going to happen. So what was that feeling like for you? Were you nervous, kind of like, man, I hope this doesn't fall apart at the last minute, or how confident were you?
The thing that I kind of thought of is that, if you looked at the pairings, we were tied second in a three-way tie, and there was a bit of good fortune where because of the fifth-man score, counting both rounds together, we got stuck out in the earlier seed. Heavy winds were due in the afternoon, and the toughest stretch of golf was that kind of 4 through 9, 4 through 8 on the golf course. So we just kind of got to buzz right through there. And then the teams behind us, unfortunately, had to start playing in some of that heavy wind on the harder holes. And then the teams that were chasing went off the back first and went into those holes on the front 9. So when we kind of got to 18, I saw the look on everybody's face. They were so stressed walking up. And, I'm the only one with the scoreboard. They have a telephone and live scoring, and those poor kids, they don't get to see what's happening. So, I kind of wanted to put them at ease with, there's a little water left, trouble short, water long, and, it's a reachable par 5. And I just said to every one of them, hey, look, man, the pressure's kind of off. You got a 12-shot lead on the cut number, but you're just a couple off the lead. If we play pretty aggressive, we could have a little fun here and hit some shots. And as soon as I said that to every one of them, they just kind of perked up, and that look of stress kind of went away pretty fast, and we really hit some remarkable shots. Our assistant coach stood up on the green. He was reading putts for guys and getting a chance to watch the other players putt, and Adrian did a great job of reading putts and help our guys get the ball in the hole.
The roster that you've put together, you got a lot of guys from, you got a great mix of like local guys and then guys who you've recruited from outside the United States. And Manuel Oliveira comes to mind in particular from Spain. He's been kind of your linchpin so far this season. How instrumental has he been in your team's success, and who's been some of the other people who kind of backed him up on days when maybe he doesn't have the best day?
Sure. I mean, when you look at Manuel, kind of a funny story. He came in for us, in his freshman year, in his first semester, he didn't really play very much. And then just, he just got comfortable being away from home and kind of learning to do things on his own and, get comfortable with his teammates. He really had a good spring semester his freshman year. And then his sophomore year, he qualifies to the NCAA tournament by himself. The team didn't make it to the regional, one of our few years without doing that. And he made it, had a great experience, and then just came back this fall. And, his world amateur rank just continues to improve. He improves over the summer, and he really just hit on all cylinders for us. We qualify for every event. So I don't really pick a lot of who's going to play. And we have another guy, Donnie Trosper, who's actually not in the lineup. And he missed a few events of the regular season through the qualifying process, but he was a guy with, a 72.8 scoring average, 72.7, somewhere in there, and he's been an outstanding performer. Kyler Tate, who was a guy who went to the University of Florida, transferred back here. We recruited him very hard out of high school and lost out, and maybe we did a good enough job that he wanted to return home, and he had an amazing regional tournament for us.
So now you go to the NCAAs in Sugar Grove, Illinois, which is outside. How far outside of Chicago is that?
It roughly, depending on which airport you hit, it's probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And it is a compound like you've never seen. Our team's been there 4 times before to play a championship that they host for the regular season. Mm-hmm. And we've had a fair amount of success. We've won the event twice with some of our good teams in the past. And, Ryan Stovash, who'll play for us, Manuel Yuso, they've all played the golf tournament, a couple of times. So they really know the grounds and they know what they're going to see.
Okay, so this is really familiar territory for you guys. So you must feel pretty good heading into this. What about the rest of the competition as you take a look at the field? Who are going to be some of the biggest challenges to try and overcome?
Well, there's 29 teams there that are pretty good besides us. This is a big boy event. There are no poor teams that are going to make it to this. So your first goal is to respect your opponents. We played Vanderbilt, and that's a really, really sharp-looking team. We've played Clemson a couple of times this year. They look fantastic. We've seen most of these teams throughout the regular season. We played with Oklahoma this year. There's a number of great programs here, and our goal, is I don't know that you can have an advantage on this golf course other than if you played it, you know how tough it is. But it's a pure golf course, and having some familiarity, I think, could help us. But I'm just excited for them, and golf's a fickle game. A guy will win a major championship one week and miss the cut the next week. So our hope is just to be as prepared as we can and go in and see if we can have some good fortune again. Yeah,
you never know when the roll of the dice is going to come in, is going to fall in your favor. Now, this is the first time that you guys have been back in this in the NCAA Final Championship since 2013. Does this year feel different as you head up to Chicago in any way, shape, manner, or form? And if so, how?
No, this is a really special year. As a college coach, I'd been to the national championship a number of times, both here at UCF and at the University of Tennessee. I'd won an SEC championship at Tennessee, won some Conference USA championships here. Like I said, been to the national championship, had some good finishes, but this is the first time our program, since I've been here, has won a regional, or ever when I was coaching before in the past had won a regional qualifier. So, you had to be playing some pretty good golf. And generally after a win, some guys feel pretty confident. So I think morale could be pretty strong.
So when we see you guys take to the course a little bit later this week, and so I actually asked Becky Kramer, the rowing coach, this earlier because they're going to be streaming their championships over the web, and UCF fans will be watching the NCAA Golf Championships as well. I asked her the same question. I'm going to ask it to you. So early on, in the early going, first day, in your opinion, UCF is going to have a really good week if what starts happening?
I think with the degree of difficulty of this golf course, if you see someone's chin stay up and you see some guys kind of grind a little bit and they don't get down from an errant shot or, maybe a difficult play or, sometimes there's just a really good bogey on the golf course. That's what I saw at the regional. I saw some guys struggle and they had a great attitude. And I don't want anyone to be happy about not playing well, but when you see a chin up and a chest out and some determination, as a coach, you think, hey, we're going to be all right here. It's when heads go down and, our guys aren't allowed to throw clubs by team rules, but when they swing a club in the air or, you see some emotion come out that's negative, you wonder how they'll rebound from it. And last week I didn't see any of that. I just saw a bunch of people who they almost looked like they just weren't going to be affected by anything. The degree of difficulty of the golf course will go up this week. So I think if we're resilient, it's going to be hard. I've seen the ladies' scores this week already. It looks like it's playing pretty tough for them. So I think that's going to be a big factor in a team doing a good job.
Boy, that is so key in golf. You really at any level, right? Is if you make a bad shot, how quickly do you recover from that? Do you not turn one bad shot into 5 in a row, right? I mean,
right. When you think of golf, that's 4.5 minutes realistically playing golf, and that's roughly 4.5 hours walking around and thinking. And if you're thinking well, maybe those 4.5 minutes of golf are going to be played well. But if you're thinking poorly in that 4.5 hours, you're probably going to drum up some bad feelings and some bad visuals.
Yeah, but hey, like you said, you guys are on some familiar turf. Can't really ask for much more than that, and things are looking up. It looks like you guys are certainly peaking at the right time, and we over here wish you the best of luck. Safe travels up to Chicago, and hey, you guys are going to play for a national championship. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, this is really exciting. Like I said, watching your players have a good time is a very, very rewarding thing as a coach. You know how hard they work. You know what kind of effort they put in, and to see them, like I said, feeling good about themselves and having some fun, that's probably one of the more rewarding things you're going to do.
Cool. And we're going to be following you very closely on NCAA.com as well, where they'll be streaming a lot of the information that comes out of Chicago. Bryce Wallor, head men's golf coach at UCF. Coach, best of luck to you and the guys, and we'll see you when you get back.
Thank you very much. Thanks for following the team. We really appreciate it.
Thanks again to Andy Seeley and, of course, to Coach Wallor for their time and their help. Reminder, UCF ranked number 18th when they were in the regional. Knocked off number 2 Vanderbilt, number 14 Clemson, among several others to advance. So it's a big chance for UCF golf. You get hot, they could win a national championship here once again, Elo. We've talked about that with rowing.
Yeah.
But they're familiar with this course. They've played it before, and they're hungry, and they're ready to go. And I think Bryce is I think Bryce is right. This is a prime position for UCF golf to be in.
No question about it. It should be exciting to see if they build on that performance to get them to this point.
You know what? It doesn't feel like they're. It does not feel like they're just happy to be there.
No, absolutely not. You're battling the course, and you want to conquer it. And if you conquer the course, you got a shot to win the field. So you're right. I don't think there's any sense of that at all based and listening to the interview. So. Big week with men's golf, and then you got rowing, and let's remind listeners, in case you missed it, Jeff's interview with Coach Kramer from UCF Rowing to preview the NCAA's there this weekend. That's in our previous podcast before this one, Jeff. So make sure to let the audience know, remind them that if you missed that, that's a recommended interview as well to get you ready for the rowing. We got the men's golf championship on this podcast, but we did preview the rowing championships in our last podcast as well. So lots going on. You need so much going on that you got to need multiple podcast episodes to cover it all.
Yeah. Well, and it continues on as we move forward and look at men's tennis, speaking of the NCAAs. And we look at that now. The men's tennis team, remember, in the NCAA tennis championships, there's the team championship and then there's the individual championship. And in the team championship, UCF fell to Louisville, and the Knights are ranked number 28 in the country. They lose to Louisville, who's ranked number 42. They clinched the doubles point, but lost 4-3 to the Cardinals up at the Ohio State University Varsity Tennis Center in Columbus, Ohio. Kind of a bummer, in the team result. That's a tough field for UCF to be in. But again, the position that they were in, I'm sure they're pretty. They must feel like they're a little bit disappointed off of that. But there's a lot to build on for UCF men's tennis from the team perspective. But that doesn't mean that the Knights are finished by any means. The individual championships are continuing, and Corey Lovett advanced to the round of 32 after defeating Ryotaro Matsumura of Kentucky. And that was in Athens, Georgia, at the Dan McGill Tennis Complex, a place where I have been before many times, the home of the Georgia Bulldogs tennis team. And Dan McGill, considered the father of college tennis in America. Lovett won in 3 sets, including 7-6, 7-6 in the last 2 sets. So
yeah, he had to come back from a set down.
Yeah,
he was down, upset, and it was tight, and he pulled it out. A heck of a win.
There's a little bit of a delay in the match, but it was a 30-minute lightning delay that kind of delayed the match. But he continues on. So congrats to Corey Lovett. The NCAA tennis championships, I don't think everyone fully realizes that is a grueling tournament. Wherever you're playing, obviously it's hot out. The competition is excellent in NCAA tennis. I recall, when I was, at Georgia, their best player was John Isner. Isner didn't, decide to go he went to college. He didn't go the route of, competing as a junior and, turning pro as a teenager. He went out to Georgia. He was a dominant player all the way around, but, he didn't win every single time he was out there. I think he won one individual title in the NCAA, but it is a tough tournament. Just to advance once, it's great. So make sure you follow UCF Tennis and keep an eye on Corey Lovett as he continues his march toward the NCAA individual championships, because you never know. I mean, things work out the way they work out. UCF could bring home an individual championship too. That's what I like about tennis is there's a team and the individual, and they split it up. Kind of like golf in that respective too, right?
Yeah, no, it's good. It's part of a long week in the championships. You mentioned the team competition just ended. In fact, they crowned Florida winning the women's tennis national championship, beating Stanford, Virginia beating North Carolina. On the men's side, and I actually watched a little bit of that because that was televised. I mean, tennis is it's interesting. There's been so much discussion about the interest in tennis in the United States and the professionally. And yet, Jeff, and you speak better than I can. You've covered college tennis a lot more than I have. I've seen more and more college tennis on television than I can ever remember, and the two national championships were on ESPN networks. Patrick McEnroe, who's one of the lead analysts in the sport of tennis, was the analyst for the team championships, and I would assume will be for the individual championships. But, college tennis is kind of getting up there, more and more coverage than maybe it's had in years.
Well, there's the college angle of it. Whenever you throw in college, whatever, I think people are going to start paying attention to it because there's a natural tribalism of colleges and alumni, all across the country. We love our college sports here in America. And the other thing, too, that I was watching some of the final match as well, the drama at that point because of how they decide the team championship. And, you have the doubles point that you go for first, but then you have these 6 singles matches. And the way everything works out, you could have it tied up at 3 and the entire national championship is riding on your number, 5 or 6 best players racket. In a 3-set match, and it really is a true team competition. Where you're only as good as your weakest link, and it has been it doesn't surprise me in that respect that we're seeing a lot more attention paid to college tennis. I'm really looking forward to when we get the national championships down here at the USTA national campus. That's going to be a fun event for UCF to host in a couple years.
Well, I agree 100% with that. And I think that's the exciting thing. You mentioned the team result for UCF. I think this is just a beginning. I don't really think there's any negatives at all. I think this is just a beginning. And I expect this program to grow and get better and be in the conversation for the national championship and not too far ahead here.
Do you think that Coach Roddick is a little disappointed with that conclusion, or do you think that there's a lot more to build on here?
I think as a coach, you're always disappointed when you're in the field. You think you can win, and to lose such a close match, I think certainly there's a disappointment. But on the other hand, I think he, the job he's done has been phenomenal, and I don't know how many people thought they could get to the NCAA tournament this quickly, beat USF, get to the final of the American Conference Championship in tennis. I mean, they've accomplished a lot, and they got a lot to build from moving forward to next season and beyond. So maybe in the short term he was disappointed because that's how coaches are. But when he takes a big look at it down the long big picture, I think he'll be very proud of what they've accomplished in just year one.
Yeah, and I think we'll look back on this as the beginning of something really big happening in UCF tennis. I know we've been saying that for quite some time, but really, all the ingredients are there. Now we just got to let it bake for a little bit, and there's a chance for some really amazing things to be happening with UCF tennis under John Roddick. So as we finish up here on the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast, Eric, what do you got coming up? So, okay, when are you coming down to Clearwater here?
That's a great question. I'm hoping that UCF can get me there to maybe Friday or Saturday. Get me to Saturday. I'll probably try to head out there at some point this weekend. I definitely want to check that out at some point, and I'm looking forward to that. And then make a reminder to everybody, by the way, that Monday is the selection show for college baseball.
That's right.
So the road to Omaha will begin on Monday with the selection show. So if you want to find out where UCF is headed, that's the day you got to find out as far as where they're going. You know, Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball has them projected as of this recording going to Gainesville as a 2 seed. So, you know, does that stick? Who knows? Remains to be seen. And I think there's a lot of interesting subplots, Jeff, because a team like the Miami Hurricanes, who have that streak going to haven't missed the NCAA tournament since 1973, trying to make a deep run in the ACC tournament to get into the field. And the reason I bring them up, we could have a UCF Miami opening round NCAA tournament baseball game in Gainesville. I mean, how amazing would that be? It was not that far-fetched. So, you know, that's why I'm kind of following other scores of other leagues because, again, will UCF stay in the state in Gainesville, or will they get shipped out? The one thing that's the more and more as the week plays out, it feels like there's just going to be one host site in the state of Florida, with Florida hosting. Now, maybe if UCF were to come back or USF were to win the conference tournament, maybe they can get themselves in the conversation like we've talked about in the previous podcast. But I'm going under the assumption for now that this will be a one-state host in Florida. So for UCF, it's a question of, do they get put in Gainesville, or do they get shipped out to maybe one of the ACC host sites, across the country? So there's a lot of intrigue. The selection show is Monday, noon Eastern. It's on ESPNU. So make your bookmark it, DVR it, however you want to do it. And I'm sure that UCFnights.com will have all the details as far as leading up to that selection show. But hopefully we'll have some more baseball this weekend from Clearwater, and hopefully I could see them at this weekend at some point.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to most importantly, this game against Tulane coming up on Thursday. If UCF can get through that, Greg Lovelady, hey, you never know. You get through, you get to semifinal Saturday. You're gonna have to beat somebody twice, most likely. But and then if you can get to Sunday, who knows what happens? If they defend the co-regular season championship with a tournament championship, along with the RPI boost that hopefully that would provide, because you're going to be playing, hopefully at least USF to get through, and then on the other side of the bracket, Houston. If Houston gets through, you'll be more than likely playing them. That's going to be a big boost for UCF as well, and could help them out. I would love to see us host. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it would be fun to actually have that happen this year. So. I think it happened at the tournament here in Clearwater, and and if you don't believe that, just go look at the game that I just called between Memphis and Cincinnati. 29 runs in 10 innings between those two squads. So it should be fun over here in Clearwater. Looking forward to seeing you back here, man.
Yeah, man, just hold the fort. Buy me some time, But in the meantime, I'll be watching you and the guys. My friends at the American Digital Network, Haley Alton, Jeff Brightwell, and Garrett and Scott, the crew there do a phenomenal job. That's the beauty of it is, even though I'm not there, I'm watching. I'm trying to watch as much as I can, mixing, right around producing Ackerman and O'Neill. So I'm excited. I'm thrilled. The championship game on Sunday at noon, and hopefully, can be out there and check out the venue. But certainly wish you the best. I know you got at least another broadcast to go and some more time up there as well. So, just stay dry, right?
Yeah, exactly. I got the day off tomorrow, and then Memphis, because I'm doing only the Memphis game. So, and then Memphis plays again 11 a.m. on Friday. So that should be a fun one coming up. So that'll do it for us here for this week. We had that special edition back on Sunday. We talked to Becky Kramer, UCF Rowing. Make sure you check that out as they get ready for their NCAA championship run up in New Jersey this coming weekend. Don't forget, of course, we'll follow men's tennis. and also men's golf coming up, as well as UCF Baseball. Don't forget to follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com. You can sign up for email alerts there for all of our latest content. Look us up on Facebook as well, and hit us up on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can hit me up at Jeff_Sharon, and hit up Eric at Eric Lopez Elo, and subscribe to this podcast. By the way, rate us, leave us a comment on iTunes, also on SoundCloud, Google Play, and TuneIn Radio. So for Eric Lopez, I'm Jeff Sharon saying thank you so much for listening. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We will catch you next week.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.